Good day, good people. Happy Saturday, happy Saturday, happy Saturday. Yeah, this episode I'm gonna call it Kusina Hakuendwe. So when I became a foreigner and why I decided to start doing ASOS in Zimbabwe, even though the circumstances when I left were not very positive. Yeah. So I was where I was now running my business in Zim. So I had a plot in Kensington, Bulawayo, about 6 acres or so. Where I was irrigating my vegetables. I was selling them in Bulawayo, Bedbridge. I was also keeping broiler chicken. I had 4 shops, 2 in Toko, a resettlement area. It's called Woyuyu or Woyuyu, and also 2 also in Virginia. I had a 7-ton lorry. I had a combi that was plying my cheque, no emission, Virginia, those areas, yes. So after the price control, things get to a wire. I'd resigned from my job in Blawayo. So I was in June. I'd applied for a permit with for the South African embassy because they were giving skilled visa, skilled work permit. So I had applied. I was actually very hesitant to apply, for that permit. But my wife encouraged me, and 3 friends did encourage me. One of the friends was a guy who was a brand manager in Gweru, at our branch in Gweru. He even invited me over when we went to Stanbic. I got a bank draft because they wanted a bank draft as part of the application. I submitted around end of June. Yeah. It took about 6 weeks for the visa to come out, but I only went to check on it on the 22nd of August. Yes. So after the price control, remember we stopped stocking the shop. The villagers were now starting coming to plead. You said, okay, even with the US dollars, we can buy. So the US dollars actually started being traded to buy grocery from 2007, not when the government announced like what they say. That's how we started. We're also battering, like maize, etc. I had a bit. I think I had at least about 10 to 15 tons at my shop in Churunji. So I discovered that the maize was being bought, for a good price in Mayambara, in Chitungwiza. So what happens in Mayambara is just next to Chitungwiza, but I don't think it's administered by the Chitungwiza local town council. It's actually part of Seke, Marzeva. So it's just on the other side because remember the rules in the town council, city councils, town councils are very stringent. Kumarzeva they are lenient. So there was already like a market like Msika. So with my Isuzu back from my Cheke to Chitungwiza, I only needed about 5 liters. That vehicle is very economical. The Isuzu I didn't know it's very very economical. So I used about 5 liters my Cheke, Marondera, Seke, Chitungwiza. Obviously in Marondera there was always a permanent roadblock 24 hours. I mean I grew up in Marondera. I went to Nyameni, I went to Marondera High School. I mean the entire high school, my entire high school from Form 1 from 6 I was in Marondera. So I know all the back roads. So obviously I would drive through the back roads. The police never stopped me. The only problem that I had, like when we are entering Chitungwiza, there would be a police somewhere. So at times, but what I would do, I would park, and then I walk about 2-3 kilometers just to make sure there's no police. Normally in the early hours of the morning, they're not there. Then I go home to my in-laws in K, take a nap, and then in the morning go and sell. So it was, I think it was being sold for like $150. It was good money. So I did that for some time. I was now starting to restock the shops again. That price control regime was very harsh, like for the first month. But obviously, when people start struggling, we start selling the higher prices, forex, battering, all of that. So that's what I was doing. The day when I went to check whether my work permit was out was in the morning of the 22nd of August. So I drove there. I went and checked. I got my passport. Oh, I see. My visa had actually come sometime in July. Okay. It was then they had been issuing 3 years, but now they were now issuing 5-year visas. In preparation for the 2010 World Cup, they were now issuing more visas. I think we're beneficiaries of that. I was so happy. I found Manyon. Manyon was with my at my in-laws' house in Chitunga. I say, yeah, baby, that visa has come out. It's 5 years. We are now living in South Africa. So I had some stock that I had bought for the shop. So we drove Marondra Macheke. So after Macheke Bridge, before you get to Jembe, you turn left, you cross the railway line. That's where I was going. So as I was by Simba Makon's farm, my vehicle started losing water. I stopped. I saw all the water is lost. We checked the water pump. It actually pegged up for the Isuzu bike, so it could not drive anymore. So we parked on the side. I got a lift. I went to all the shops in Macheke, Chikwepa. Because I was now using lifts, it was now slower. When I was coming back Macheke, where I saw where there was network, I told Manyoni, I'll tell you when I'm nearer, then we can meet in Harare. So we meet in Harare around 8, 9. By then the buses to Blawe were finished. We went to showground. We started hitchhiking. We got into a swift track. I think around 9, 10. We're not alone there. So the swift track goes very slowly. It went into Gweru. I remember seeing the likes of Zimalo is when it was going to the depot delivering. Then at around 4 a.m. we got into Blawayo, closer to the city wall, because we're now staying. After I'd resigned in June, I'd from 1 August, we had moved out from the company house. So our furniture was now at the farmhouse, at the plot in Kensington. So we went to the BP garage. I don't know if you are in Blawayo, there's that area where it's written Cairo, so many miles, Cape Town, so many miles. That corner, people, it's very popular joint. That's on Gwanda Road. There was a BP garage then, but now obviously there's no BP. So I left Manyoni there around 5. I got a lift to Kensington, dropped off. From the main road to our plot, it was like 3-4 kilometers. Obviously Manyoni could not walk that far. I had to do it on my own. I went home, took my certificates. I forgot. I didn't take my A level and O level, but I was like, who wants those ones? But anyway, I ended up coming back after I got my job. So I went home, took about 3 suits, a blanket, the professional certificates, etc. I went back to the third road, back to Blawa City Center, connected with Manyoni there. We got a lift in one of these Toyota, Malaysia Toyota Hilux that was going to Joburg. That was now on the 23rd of August. We left South Africa. We got to Pretoria around 5-6 p.m. at my sister's place, because my sister was staying in Sunnyside. So the plan was I was gonna apply for jobs, then come back, blah blah. But God works in mysterious ways. The following day, I saw an advert. They wanted a business claims advisor at one of the major insurance companies around. I went there. I applied via email. I went to the internet cafe. The internet cafe in South Africa was very cheap, unlike Zimbabwe. I think you needed only like 3 rands or 2 rands for 15 minutes. So it was so cheap. I was not used to that. And there's plenty in Sunnyside. You could print like for 50 cents or even less. It was something that I was not used to. There was no load shedding there, and things were like perfect. I loved South Africa. I started applying that job, then I applied for another job. Within 2, 3, 4 days, I was being started. They started calling me for interview. Senton. I was coming from Senton on N1. If you know Bakluwe, the road from N1 from Cape Town, N3 from Durban. Meets with M1 from coming from Joburg. It's called the Baklu interchange. Where there's a Vodacom sign right there by on the left. I parked there. Someone phoned me. They started doing interviews for me, interviewing me telephonically. The guy says, okay, I'm not very convinced, but your CV is very good. I'm gonna call you for an interview on Friday, the 31st of August. Imagine a week. I was now already a week. Now I also had another interview in Senton. This one was in Centurion, part of Pretoria or Tshwane area. I made a decision. I was driving my brother-in-law's Nissan Almera. Then on Friday, I said, you know what, let me go to the one nearer. I went there Oh, I was interviewed by two guys, two Englishmen. They loved me. I mean, they said, if your papers are in order, you've got a job. What? Just like that. I'm thinking of going to see him. How much salary do you want? I was like, I need maybe 7,000 rand. They started laughing at me. They says, no, this job comes with 14,000 rand. I mean, in Zimbabwe, as a branch manager, my salary was really like 1,000 rands. I mean, you know how things were like in Zimbabwe then. So that recruiter weird phoned me telephone to say, I'm not convinced, but I'm gonna call you. He came and took me, and we went to a desk. She was so happy that I signed my offer letter, and they're like, say, no, but here we don't wear suit like the way you have come dressed. You know, it's you wear whatever you want. Ish. Apandikazara suit and the like. Ish. So tomorrow morning, 1st of September, I took a train to Joburg, the metro rail to Joburg. I went to the China. There's a small China mall behind Ellis Park. I knew all these places because I remember I was coming to buy things, going to Sevens, them. So I knew all these places. Went there, bought some jeans, some t-shirts. Monday on the 3rd of September, I reported for training. But boss, there's a holiday in September in what is Heritage Day, so we got paid early. I think around the 19th, the 20th, or something. I mean, barely 2 weeks. I'm already getting paid. I got my net salary of 10,000 rands. Wow, that was a lot of money. Remember in Zim, we would go for years for you to buy a bed. What? I mean, with that salary, I was able to buy a fridge, buy a TV, buy a bed. And because I now had a payslip, I even opened Edgar's account, went and shopped, the two of us. But obviously we were worried about our kids, that were home, things were starting getting bad. Or the next, after I got the job, they said, no, we want your matric certificate. So I actually had to hitchhike to Blawayo, to go and get my certificate. I was like, who wants O-level certificates? Anyway, I started working. Yeah. As a foreigner, life is tough. I think I understand. Right now, there was a debate about people were like, I think I made a mistake going to UK. People in Zim will be like, huh? What do you mean? It's actually real. Once you go out, you start realizing how important it is to be a citizen. You started realizing the value of being like a Zimbabwean, you see, when you are at your own like a place. Because when you're a foreigner, things are tough. Okay, there's more to life than kujikasa and nyama every day, because you have got a glass ceiling. We started realizing that even though you were more qualified, there were some jobs or some promotions that we would not get. Because here in South Africa, because of the racial laws, they've now implemented what is called affirmative action or employment equity, so that blacks, coloreds, even Indians, even white women, because under the Afrikaner society, it's sort of a patriarch society, even their women were actually oppressed. So now they benefit. Actually, now we used to say the people that have actually benefited more from the employment equity is actually the Indians and the white women. Those are the two demographics that is actually benefited. So many jobs, when you apply, even if you are qualified like what, they are not going to take you if you are not a citizen. You should actually have been a citizen prior to 1994. So they do this employment equity report that they have to send every year to the government. So for them to promote you, some of these companies, you have to have exceptional skills. And also, coupled with that, there's also institutionalized racism in the society in South Africa. I mean, it's something that you cannot hide away. I mean, people have documented it. You can see a white person, even if they are stupid or dumb, they are likely to be your manager. It's a fact. Or they get promoted to specialist departments that they will earn a salary equivalent to a manager. When we were working, we used to joke with other black South Africans to say, oh, this department, you only see white faces. It's a reality. That's what happens. So all of that eventually gets into you are getting your salary, which is much better than being Zim, but you have got a glass ceiling. You don't go further. So, so I started realizing this within the first month. Like, they're looking for a manager. They're looking at claims manager. They're looking for general manager because the level that I was in Zim, I was almost like an AGM because I was like a regional manager. I was in charge of Bulawayo region, Matabeleland North, Matabeleland South. So I had an office like in Vic Falls, Gwanda, Plumtree, is it Wange. I was trying to establish an office in Bedbridge as well by the time I left, you see. So, but in South Africa now, and I was qualified. I had already finished all the qualifications for the insurance. I was done. I had already done my fellowship, the highest qualification in insurance when I was doing SIM to the 2005. I was actually within the Society of Fellows, in Zimbabwe, where I would meet with the prominent MDs that you guys know in the insurance industry. We were already meeting. We were on that level. But obviously, as a foreigner, you come, and also in South Africa, they don't value a lot of qualifications that much because a lot of these guys they don't have is just experience. So it gets to you. Something happened also to me personally. I remember around 3 months. What was it? September when I started. October. So around October, November, the company said they were going to give study loan. So I applied. Then I was called by my manager, and then my HOD. My HOD was an Indian guy. My feeling, my experience, Indians can be the most racist. That's my experience. Can be the most racist, even though they were oppressed before. I don't know with the psychology with that. So he takes in the meeting and says, "Okay, you wanna apply for this loan? Because I done a fellow of the Insurance Institute of South Africa. Now I wanted to do to be an associate of the Chartered Institute of Insurance of UK. So it's just another branch in another chapter. This is now a UK qualification that would help me if you wanna move maybe to Australia, Canada, New Zealand, or worldwide because they recognize UK because that's like the parent insurance body all over the world. If you wanna do marine insurance, your marine insurance, for example, is started in UK. UK is the financial center of the world. Together with New York and the like. So he asked me, but I see you want to do this course. Why don't you start doing with the one for South Africa? That's my Indian boss, HOD, asking. I'm like, no. I already passed that already in Zimbabwe, 2005. He's like, oh, you are very intelligent. Because myself, I tried it, but I failed. I'm thinking it's an honest interview, discussion. He says, okay, after you have worked, we'll see how it's the performance. Then we can always give you the loan. But I never applied because with the salaries you could afford on your own anyway. So when I started applying for promotions, I started seeing this Indian guy. He's got an agenda. I think he was out to prove that even though I was the most qualified, because I can say I was the most qualified in the department. I think we were like maybe 200 or 300 at one go. All the claims department, I was the most qualified. Even in the company, I would say I was actually one of the most qualified people in the company. But he was there to prove that even though I was disqualified, but somehow I was stupid. Because even the first interview that I had with him was like, second interview. The third interview that I had with him for promotion, he only came alone. He didn't even come with HR. He just told me, no, you're not qualified. I told you need to, he was really putting me down. I was really, really depressed. But the problem that happens is the following. I had got that job. I realized I was lucky. Many companies, even for a similar position, I was not getting that job. Number three, the company that I was working at, a performance-based salary. So I was always earning more than even a supervisor because you just sit down, you do your work, you get your salary. You see. So I was concentrating on that. I remember at one time I even got an offer at one of the leading financial companies. They've got a big medical aid. I mean, everyone knows them. I mean, they've got a big medical aid. Initially, they says no. If you were not a citizen in 1994, we're not going to take you. Then eventually they called me. We went for an interview. They said, give me your payslip. I gave them. Then I was earning about 30,000 average. They actually wanted to give me like 20,000. I'm like, why would you ask me for my payslip when you wanna pay me 10,000 less? I mean, why would I do that, you know. So I just stayed with that company. I stayed with that company for the first 10 years. I resigned, you know, because that's when I had established my figure in Zimbabwe. I came back after 6 months, and I worked again for the last for another 3 years. To illustrate how good pay, how well paying it was. In January 2021, when I decided that I was about to resign, the salary that I got that month was a gross salary of 72,000 rands. But I was just a clerk. But if you were willing to work, because I was working very hard, overtime, weekends, even on holidays, like you will find me working on the Boxing Day, I'm working. New Year, I would work. I got that money. So that is what also helped me to finance my projects in Zim. You know, I would get into that. But yeah, I was just going onto the introduction. So I'm just saying, there's more to life than eating sazananyama every day. You see, this is, I think, also about a hierarchy of needs. Look at it in Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe, things are tough, but I've got the same chance in theory of being employed like the next guy. I've got the same chance of being promoted like the next guy. I can actually become an MP in Zimbabwe. You see, look at people like Chino Timba, they are MP, they were MPs. Look at someone as stupid as Energy Mtodi is an MP. Look at people like Stamen Chamisa, they were MPs, even though they say he never uttered any one word in parliament. I mean, look at Mnangagwa as our president. I mean, I don't know how bright he is, but I don't know if you are following me. When you are in your country, you start realizing to say, you know what, you've got better opportunities, but obviously on paper as well. But when you are a foreigner, there are some things that you never do, and you always get reminded. Like right now, I've been here for 17 years this year. But at times, even when you speak to the police, you know, you always get, you know, that feeling to say, you know, this person, the way they're talking to you, they're telling you don't belong, you're a foreigner. At times, before I had an ID, you'd go and apply for like a housing loan. You get told, for foreigners, we can give you 100% or 90% bond. You only want 50%. We can only give you 50%. You're like, but do they think I'm going to take the house with it to Zimbabwe? You want to go and rent a house, they'll be like, foreigners are a risk. Pay us double deposit. So imagine a house that is 7,000 rental. You have to pay 14,000 deposit, 7,000. That's 21 plus admin. You know, whereas a local can just go and just pay 14,000. They move into the house. So you see, a lot of things happens when you are a foreigner. You know, less opportunities. There's institutionalized racism. There's institutionalized xenophobia against foreigners. So it's always a problem. Like in our case, it was even more complicated because the payment that we had, it was saying you must get a job within 90 days of arriving. Once you get the job, you need to go to the Home Affairs and confirm that you've got a job. And then every year, every 12 months, you need to go and confirm that you are still employed in that sector. You know, because they didn't want people to get in, and then they start doing other jobs that are not on the quota that for that. You know how immigration is. I mean, even now in UK, they're even talking of if you're earning so much, you can bring your families. You need to pay more tax. You know, life is already tough. You know, even in UK, you see. So eventually, some of these things start reminding you of home. So that's what happened to me, and I started thinking, what can I do? For me, when I went to report within the first 90 days, because I remember I got a job within like 7 days, so I was very blessed. I'm blessed. I mean, I don't want to lie. Then I went to the Home Affairs before 90 days and I want to report. The guy is like, no, why did they give a job? They need to confirm that they didn't get a certificate. And I'm like, no, if at the moment I go to my employer and tell them that, they're going to chase me because I'm not doing a very skilled work. Your permit says I'm supposed to work as long as I got a job within my sector. That guy refused to help me. I was so frustrated. You know, that's when I started thinking, maybe I made a mistake by coming here. I should have, you know, I should have stayed put at home and faced whatever I was facing. Then luckily on the walls they had numbers for the managers, the regional manager. So I phoned the regional manager and says, that guy, I even asked him, can I speak to your supervisor? Unfortunately for me, he was actually the supervisor. Then eventually I phoned the manager. The manager says, no, go back, he's going to help you. The manager spoke to him. I went back. He helped me grudgingly. I got my that to confirm that I've done that. The next time when I went to report, the rules have changed. Now you are supposed to submit all the papers that you submitted in Harare last year. Imagine, you start again. So I was like, I even told my manager, say, I'm not gonna think. I don't think I will report again. I would rather just go back home. It was not so tight. So what happened now is, as I'm working and I'm realizing, I don't think I'm gonna stay long. Home things are tough, but home is home. You are not gonna face all these things. You start also your what I was used to. I used to work for myself. I mean, like on weekends, get extra income, do so many program. Now I'm just sitting. Wherever you wanna go, you're being asked, "Where's your passport?" You end up like you are in prison when you're a foreigner. My first passport, if you see it, I still have it. It was worn out, worn out, worn out because I had to carry it every day. You're going into a combi. If you speak English, it's as if you're sworn at the taxi driver. They don't wanna hear you speak English. They don't have a conductor like in him. If you're sitting on the front seat, you have to do the engine. You have to do the change for everyone. Okay, I'll continue now.